The Secret Life of a Billionaire in Disguise. The bright lights of the Galaxy diner buzzed as Marcus wiped the counter. His hands were rough from working so much. He did this same job 6 nights every week for 2 years now. Outside, rain poured down the windows in Seattle, making the neon signs look blurry. "Order ready, Marcus," Jimmy shouted from the kitchen, pushing a plate of pancakes through the window. Marcus grabbed the plate and brought it to Mrs. Patterson. She was an old lady who came every Thursday night to eat alone. Her husband had died, and Marcus always made sure to keep her coffee cup filled with hot coffee. "Thank you, sweetie," she said with a shaky smile. "You're welcome, Mrs. P." What Mrs. Patterson didn't know was that Marcus owned this building. He also owned the building next door, and 47 other buildings in the city. Marcus had $3.2 billion. He was super rich. His phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. Meeting moved to Friday. Jennifer. Marcus deleted the message. On Friday, he would be Marcus John, the boss of a huge company. But tonight, he was just Marcus, the waiter who worked hard and never complained. This all started 3 years ago, after his wife left him. "You're not a real person anymore, Marcus," Rebecca had said while packing her suitcase. "You're just about money and business. I don't even know who you are." He wanted to tell her she was wrong. But standing there in his fancy $5,000 suit, he couldn't remember the last time he did something just because it made him happy, not because it made him money. 2 weeks later, he walked into the Galaxy diner wearing regular jeans and a t-shirt. There was a "Help Wanted" sign in the window. Jimmy hired him right away. "You ever been a waiter before?" Jimmy asked. "No, but I learn fast." Jimmy laughed. "Sure, kid. You start tomorrow. You'll make minimum wage plus tips. Don't be late." Marcus showed up 15 minutes early. He'd been early every day since. Think of it like this: imagine if the principal of your school secretly worked at the cafeteria at lunch. All the kids would just think he's a regular lunch worker. They'd tell him about their problems, complain about homework, talk about mean teachers, not knowing he's actually the boss of everything. That's what Marcus's life was like. "Table 3 needs more coffee," said Angela, walking past with dirty dishes. She was 19 years old and had a 4-year-old daughter named Destiny. She was trying to go to college while being a mom. Marcus had secretly helped her get a scholarship, but she thought she just got lucky. He grabbed the coffee pot and walked to table 3. 2 men in fancy suits were talking. "Chen Industries is being really tough. It's all or nothing with them. I heard the CEO is mean. He just buys companies and shuts them down." Marcus kept a straight face, filled their cups, and walked away. It was weird hearing people talk about him while he poured their coffee. This happened a lot. Sometimes he served people who worked for his companies and didn't even know it. The funny thing was, during the day he was the tough billionaire everyone was scared of. At night, he made $12.50 per hour plus tips and really cared about keeping Mrs. Patterson's coffee warm. He wasn't sure which one was the real him anymore. Around 10 p.m., a young woman walked in pulling a suitcase. Her makeup was smeared and her eyes were red from crying. She sat at the counter, and Marcus brought her a menu and water. "Bad day?" he asked. She laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "Bad year." She stared at the menu but wasn't really reading it. "I just got fired. They said they are restructuring." That's a fancy way of saying they are firing everyone and hiring cheaper workers. "I'm really sorry," Marcus said, and he meant it. "I have to pay rent next week, and I just spent my last $100 on a hotel room because I can't face my roommate. She told me that company wasn't stable." The woman looked up with tears in her eyes. "Can I just get coffee? I know it's sad to sit in a diner all night, but I don't have anywhere else to go." "Coffee is free," Marcus said. "And you can stay as long as you want." He brought her coffee and, quietly, added a slice of pie. When she said she couldn't pay, he just said, "Jimmy makes too much pie anyway. It'll just get thrown away." As he walked away, his phone buzzed. A message from Jennifer: the restructuring at Datacom is done. We'll save $14 million this year. Good job. Datacom. Marcus felt sick to his stomach. The woman at the counter, he saw a Datacom name badge in her purse. He had agreed to fire all those people 3 weeks ago. It took 17 minutes in a meeting room, looking at computer slides about saving money and being more efficient. He never thought about the real people, the ones crying in diners because they lost their jobs. Marcus stood there holding the coffee pot, frozen. His two lives had just crashed into each other. It's like if you played a video game where you're the villain, but then you met the characters you hurt in real life. Suddenly they are not just names on a screen, they are real people with real problems. At midnight, Jimmy locked the door while Marcus and Angela cleaned up. The woman with the suitcase, her name was Tara, had fallen asleep in her booth. Marcus had put his jacket over her like a blanket. "You're letting her sleep here?" Jimmy asked. "Just for tonight. She needs help." Jimmy looked at Marcus for a moment, then nodded. "Okay. You lock up. I trust you." That trust, it meant more to Marcus than any business deal ever had. After everyone left, Marcus sat alone in the empty diner. His phone showed 43 emails he hadn't read and 6 missed calls. He thought about Tara sleeping in the booth. About Angela, who didn't know he'd secretly arranged her scholarship. About Mrs. Patterson, who came every Thursday because her apartment felt too lonely. For 3 years, he thought working at the diner was his break from being a billionaire. But sitting there at 2 a.m., he realized he had it backward. This wasn't a break. This was like a mirror showing him what his business decisions actually did to people. The next morning, Marcus walked into his company's meeting room wearing his expensive suit and fancy shoes. 15 business people stood up when he entered. "Good morning," he said. "Let's talk about business." Jennifer started showing slides with numbers and charts. Everything was about making more money. "Wait," Marcus interrupted. "I want to talk about the Datacom thing." Jennifer looked confused. "That's done, sir. We already." "I know. I want to change how we treat people when we fire them." The room went quiet. "Right now, we give people 2 weeks of pay for every year they worked, right?" "Yes, that's normal. I want to change it to 6 weeks of pay for every year they worked. Plus, we pay for their health insurance for 6 months. And we should help them learn new job skills." One of the bosses, Gerald, said, "Marcus, that would cost us millions of dollars. The people who own our stock expect. We'll still make money," Marcus said calmly. "We are rich. We'll stay rich. But we can afford to not ruin people's lives. This is business. Not charity," Gerald said. Marcus looked at him. "Maybe we've been doing business the wrong way." Everyone started arguing and complaining. Marcus let them talk. But he kept thinking about Tara's face, her suitcase, her tears. He thought about Mrs. Patterson's shaky hands. About Jimmy's trust. About how he felt more like a real person in his waiter uniform than in his fancy suit. "This is happening," Marcus said loudly. "Make the changes. Every company I own will do this within 30 days. That night at the diner, Tara came back. She looked different, still tired, but not as sad. "I wanted to thank you," she said to Marcus. "For last night. And the pie? How are you doing? Datacom called me this morning. They're giving me way more money than I expected, plus they'll pay for me to learn computer coding." She shook her head in surprise. "I don't know what happened, but it's like someone important suddenly decided to be nice." Marcus felt warm and happy inside. "That's awesome news." "It is. I'm still scared. But at least now I have a chance." She smiled. "Can I get a coffee? And actually pay this time?" "Coffee is still free," Marcus said. "But you can buy the pie." After she left, Angela came over. "That was really nice, what you did for her." "Just coffee and pie." Sometimes that's everything. Angela looked at him. You're different from most people, Marcus. I don't know your story, but I'm glad you're here. Over the next few months, Marcus made more changes to his companies. He didn't change everything at once, he knew that wouldn't work. But little by little, he made things better. He helped pay for childcare for parents who worked for him. He made sure workers could see therapists if they were sad or stressed. He created clear paths for people to get better jobs. He made all his bosses work regular jobs in their own companies for 1 week every year, so they'd understand what normal workers went through. Some people fought him. Some bosses quit. Some rich people who owned stock complained. But the companies didn't fail. Workers stayed longer. They worked harder. Slowly, people accepted that Marcus's companies were different. And Marcus kept working at the diner. He didn't need the money. But he'd made friends at the Galaxy Diner. Jimmy's bad jokes. Mrs. Patterson's Thursday visits. Angela's hard work to give her daughter a better life. These people knew him as Marcus the waiter, not Marcus the billionaire. They trusted him. They told him their stories. They had no idea that the quiet man in the stained apron was changing how billion-dollar companies treated people, all because of a crying woman with a suitcase. One Thursday night, about a year later, Marcus was filling Mrs. Patterson's coffee when she looked up at him with smart, knowing eyes. You're not really a waiter, are you, Marcus? He almost dropped the coffee pot. Why would you say that? I'm 83 years old, dear. You learned to read people. She smiled kindly. You watch this place like you're studying it. And your hands say you work in a diner, but the way you talk says you run companies. Marcus sat down across from her. After a long pause, he said, would you be mad if I told you who I really am? That depends. Did you lie to hurt people, or to understand them? To understand them, he said quietly. And to understand myself. Mrs. Patterson reached across and patted his hand. Then I'm not mad. But I think you've learned what you needed to learn. Maybe, Marcus said. But I'm not ready to leave yet. Then don't. She smiled. The world has enough rich people, Marcus. It could always use more good people willing to pour coffee. Marcus still works at the Galaxy Diner at night. Most Thursdays you'll find him there, pouring coffee and cleaning tables, listening to stories and making sure nobody eats alone unless they want to. During the day, he runs one of the biggest, most successful companies in Seattle. But he runs it differently now. His workers know that making money is important, but people are more important. That being efficient matters, but treating people with respect matters more. Some people call him soft. Some people say he's changing the rules. Business experts write worried articles about his weird way of doing business. Marcus doesn't care. He's learned that being rich isn't about how much money you have. It's about what you're willing to share. Not just money, though he gives away lots of that, but time, attention, and kindness. He's learned that sometimes the most valuable thing a rich person can do is put on an apron, pour coffee, and remember what it's like to be a regular person. His secret isn't that he's rich. Lots of people are rich. His secret is that he's learned being rich means nothing if you forget about the people around you. And every night at the Galaxy Diner, under buzzing bright lights, Marcus practices remembering. The coffee is always hot. The pie is always fresh. And if you're lucky enough to sit at his counter on a Thursday night, you might never know that the quiet man filling your cup could buy the whole city block. But you know, somehow, that he cares about you. And in the end, maybe that's what really matters.